What's up, everybody? Hobby with Cage, episode 16, I believe. Woo, we're really rocking and rolling. I'm in a good mood today. I got my Goonies shirt on. Better mood than I was in on Monday, I guess. Got a lot of great feedback from that episode. We'll try to have some fun today. Try to talk about collecting strategies. Try to talk about whether one way is better than the other, and whether or not anybody should be telling you that their way is better than other. Talk about how it's okay to sell a card, how it's okay to sometimes be an investor, sometimes be a collector, be a mix of the two. Talk about all that other fun stuff. But talk about timing, right? And you take a snapshot. Um, you you can frame your conversation, your talking points at any point in time. So, I mean, we're now watching. We're at the moment that I'm talking to you right now, I'm watching a historic playoff run by a historic player who's doing things that people are comparing to Michael Jordan. Never has a playoff run, evoked so much, comparisons to all time greats. And after 8 years in the league, we're seeing, on the road, we're seeing great performances, 30 points scored almost every game. Every game. We'll see what happens. More 30-point games scored in the playoffs than Michael, Hakeem. We're comparing them to a lot of stuff. Average 30 points in the road games. Putting up assists, putting up rebounds, just doing crazy stuff. Joining numbers of people like Jerry West and Iverson in the playoffs and LeBron in the playoffs. I mean, just an amazing thing. And to watch this, beating teams, beating greats, beating teams that you weren't sure they were going to beat. And just having an incredible playoff run. And, you're thinking, wow, well, that's why we're seeing all these cards of the Joker being put up now as, wow, this is what a collector looks like. And, this is what you got to promote. And, look, people who have the Joker cards. And sure, it'd be great to have Joker cards right now. But I wasn't talking about Joker. I was talking about taking a snapshot in 2019 of Kawhi Leonard. I know none of you were thinking about Kawhi Leonard when I was talking about all those 30-point games and all that crazy playoff run and being compared to Michael Jordan and Hakeem Olajuwon. But in 2019, the headlines that we're seeing now about the Joker were the headlines we were seeing then about 8 years into the league, Kawhi Leonard, who had already won a championship and was about to win or was winning his second championship at the time, multiple finals MVP, defensive player of the year. And those quotes that I gave you of Kawhi, 14th player in NBA history to average 31 points per game on the road in a single postseason with at least 8 games, 11 games with at least 30 points in the 2019 NBA playoffs. Only player in postseason history with more games at the time were Michael Jordan, 13, and Hakeem Olajuwon at 12. Points per game, total of 31.4, second only to Kevin Durant. Kawhi, one of just 6 players, and I named them already with Jerry West. Clutch points per game, just doing things people say that just weren't done before, changing the game before our very eyes, becoming a superstar, becoming an all-time great. At the end of that season, there were top 50 lists that had him in front of some real all-time greats. And I'm not saying that the Joker breaks down. I'm not saying there's going to be load management. But what I'm saying is it's easy to put your cards out there. It's easy to put your collection out there and say, look what I did. I'm winning. I think if you go back to 2019 and you look at some of the snapshots of the people who were holding a bunch of Kawhi Leonard cards, they probably would have said they were winning at the time too. And the future looked bright. But it doesn't always work out that way. You know what I mean? And that's why the title for today's episode is, don't count your chickens just yet. I'm watching Joker. I'm pulling for the guy. He's a big dude, just like me. There were a lot of fun stories that could have happened in these playoffs. Western Conference, Eastern Conference. You have Jimmy Butler, Jason Tatum. Somebody's getting to the finals, right? And the other side, you had LeBron and Joker. if LeBron won, you could cheer for him to win his fifth ring, and not hear about, the six finals losses and the whole deal. This time he didn't even get to the finals. He got swept. I know he's taking some heat for that, but if you watch that last game, he didn't duck anything. He left it all out there. He went for the last shot. I'm not even a huge LeBron, lover or fan, but it was pretty impressive what he did. Um, Now with LeBron out, it's pretty clear. Somebody's going to win their first championship. Somebody is going to go from, I don't want to call it hobby obscurity, right? Because you have Joker won 2 straight MVPs and people thought he should have won his third one. Now you add a ring to that mix. It's just a different flavor, right? Um, and to be fair, on my Kawhi conversation, Kawhi hadn't won MVPs. He won final MVPs, but he hadn't won MVPs like the Joker. And on the other side of the coin, if it's, Miami, Jimmy Butler gets his first ring. If it's the Celtics, Tatum, can get his first ring. I mean, there's great stories there. There's great stuff. But I guess what I come on here to kind of preach is be careful, right? Buying cards of these folks is not the same as buying stock in a company that then announces a good earnings when they win the championship. It's not the same as betting on a team and you say the Celtics are going to win, so I'm going to buy that Jaylen Brown card. Not necessarily the Jaylen Brown goes up the same way that betting on the Celtics would have given you a win on that bet with the Celtics. Same thing with Joker cards. I mean, I think a lot of people, we talk about this, a lot of people, were hoping he won the third MVP. He didn't. It'd be nice to see him win the championship. But even that, it doesn't mean that is now guaranteed all-time great. And I know Kawhi is a different player, and I know we had load management and all kind of stuff, but just a fun little experiment I did as I was thinking about this today was I typed into the old Google machine, a little Google action, Kawhi Leonard 2019 articles. Yeah. And he was athlete of the year for 2019. He was on every, top athlete list. He was, making top 50 all times, and the comparisons were all there. And I remember collecting in 2019. I remember the 2012 Prism, the silver, selling for crazy, crazy numbers, and just people jumping all over Kawhi because, they're putting him in a top 50 list. And he had accomplished all this in his first 8 years. You're thinking, wow, I mean, where are we going to go from here? We're only going to go up. He's joining the Clippers. It's going to be him and Paul George. And, he's only going to win more. Maybe he wins another championship with a third team. Woo, that's going to be crazy. And they're the favorites to go on and win. And it just hasn't panned out that way. And, it's an important thing to discuss with cards, especially modern cards or cards where, people are playing. Everything has to break right. And even if it breaks right, it doesn't necessarily mean that card is a long-term hold or long-term, going to go up in value, right? And you add into the mix that 2019 to now, you had a little up and you have a lot of down. You know what I mean? You have card values going up. That Kawhi went up like crazy, and it's definitely down a lot. Most of his cards, even his RPAs. And I guess the second part of this, and it's not to crap on Joker or the folks who collect Joker. Obviously, I'm talking about Chris Hoge has the amazing collection of Joker stuff, and I actually like Cardboard Chronicles posts about how this is what we should be promoting. I do agree with that, not specifically Joker. I do agree that we should be trying to find those collectors, those people who are hunting down grails, and maybe talk about their journey, talk about what they did to go get this card, talk about the trade, talk about the hunt, talk about the fun, right? I mean, that is an important part of what makes this hobby different than most. I mean, you can go out and buy a Rolex wherever you want. You go out and buy a car. You can go out and buy a couple of these other things that people flash around, but finding the Joker one of one black rookie or finding, optic golds or all these fun things. There are stories to these. There are things you have to give up, things you have to part with, trips you have to take. It's an interesting thing, and it's fun, and I think very specific to our hobby. So not crapping on those stories. I actually agree with those stories. Mine is more of a snapshot of Joker now. Let's say he wins a championship. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with the value of his cards. It's going to be interesting to see what happens to getting a phone call. A little Vadim making a Bagel Master Vadim making a little. He's making a little guest appearance on the show. I should pick up the call. Look at this. Dude, you didn't even know you were going to be a guest on the show. I'm in the middle of recording this episode, and now you're a guest. So be nice and don't call me any names and say hello to the audience. I'm 10 minutes into an episode.
I hope everybody's having a great Wednesday.
There you go. I'll call you when I'm done recording, all right?
All right.
Talk to you soon. Bye. There you go. Look at that. It turned into a guest episode. It turned into a guest episode without even anybody knowing it. So the Joker cards, right? The Joker values. It's funny because I can't see collecting a big guy. I used to collect Shaq. I have some Shaq stuff. I collected Alonzo Mourning as a kid. I collected big guy, Hakeem Olajuwon. There's like a ceiling to him, and not a lot of people collect him. But Joker's different, man. He doesn't have that many cards, and his fan base is rabid. And I remember, talking with Andrew about this when he was trying to buy some of the Joker cards. He couldn't get them. He couldn't pry them from people. So that they have that going for him. But I'm sure there were people who were buying Joker cards hoping he won the third MVP or hoping that he wins a championship now. And it probably, get ready to sell those cards. I think if I were holding, I'd be one of them. I think I would be a seller on those cards because I don't know what's going to happen. And if you look at him, I mean, I get in trouble for saying stuff like this, but he's kind of built like me. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not in shape. That's not a compliment. But he's still doing some crazy stuff. I don't know how much longevity he's going to be able to kind of go out there and do this and do it at this level. I mean, maybe don't bet against him, but if it were me, I learned from the past, right? I learned from when people are flying high, it's usually a difficult thing to maintain that level for a long time in sports, in team sports, in basketball, you name it. And I'm counting that he wins. Maybe he doesn't even win a championship. Who knows? But let's just assume he does. I did this whole diatribe for you about 8 years in the league and, having this playoff run and no one's ever seen it. No one. Be honest with yourselves. Nobody thought for a second that I was talking about Kawhi Leonard. And that's why I did it. Because I guarantee you that there are people listening to this who were as high on Kawhi, if not higher, in 2019 than they are on Jokic right now, on the Joker right now, Jokic, as I like to call him. I get his name wrong every single time, Jokic. So take it, leave it, do whatever you want. It's fun. If that's the guy you like to collect. If you were somebody who was buying his stuff, to hope that he won his MVP or, win a championship. If he wins a championship, I would be a seller. This is just me. I don't tell anybody, how to deal with their own cards. I've made plenty of mistakes and plenty of bad calls. And I guess I'm a bad investor because I have bought cards trying to make money on them. And some I do and some I don't. And some, I just say it's time to cut bait on them, especially stuff that I bought in this run-up, especially stuff that I bought high. I try to take advantage of things when the market is going good for me. And if I were holding Joker cards, I think I'd be looking to move those now just because I don't know whether or not you're going to have a better chance with him. He's coming off of a third straight MVP caliber season. Who knows what happens next year? Who knows whether or not everybody's on the Wemby bandwagon and who knows who signs where and whether or not the Lakers get better and, whether or not what free agents go to what teams and what superpowers and whether LeBron joins the Golden State Warriors. Who the heck knows what's going to happen? But if you have a chance to take some money off the table when the going is good, I would. And I'm sure there are people out there who wish they did when Kawhi was sitting on the throne of the NBA after winning the championship in 2019. It's a fun little one. For me, personal, by the time you're listening to this, the card will have sold. It's funny, Find Your Trove actually picked this up. I never wanted to be in the Find Your Trove stories where it's like, this card sold for this, and now it's only this. It's usually like a Trae Young. Like this Trae Young gold rookie card sold for $5 billion, and you can get it now for $7, right? You're like, oh man, who was the guy who bought that? It's in my story. It's in Find Your Trove's story. You'll see it. This is my last Tim Duncan card. I was wrong on my Tim Duncan, analysis. At least I think I was wrong on it. I purchased two Tim Duncan cards last year, Skybox Rubies, which we've talked about, and I sold last week and took small loss on it, not an acceptable loss on it, given how cards in general have come down. I think it actually came down less than cards in general. But the the only other one I have is the Prism Gold from 2012, and it's out there. It's on Probstein. It's mine. And Find Your Trove has this card last sold for $13,800, and now it's $1,500. Well, it's not done yet. It's up for auction. It's not going to end at $1,500. It better not. I really feel stupid if that happens. But I don't know if it's going to sell for $13,800. It's a gold out of 10, true gold, playing years. While he was playing, first year of Prism. I love the card. I love the set. But I mean, if you guys listen to my episodes, I think it was episode 7, that card, Tim Duncan overall, just did not make it into these are the cards I need to have. These are the cards that if I sold now next week, I'd be pissed off at myself for selling them. I'm not going to be able to get them back. You name it. It does fall in the category of not being able to get back. This is a card. It's only sold, now the second time in 2 years because I'm selling it and not being patient with it. I'm sure if I held the card for 5 years or 6 years, it would be significantly more valuable than what I bought it for last year. Tim Duncan is just not somebody I'm currently looking to hold cards for, 5-6 years on. Someone will buy it and someone will get it and someone will appreciate it in value, just because I think that Wembanyama stuff is going to put another spotlight on Tim Duncan and maybe even David Robinson and their cards, and you may even have a role with him. Maybe they bring him on to help coach him. Maybe they bring him on to help mentor him. But you'll see that card. I wanted to bring that up because, I come on here and I talk, and I think it's important for you guys to hear my own experience and what it is that I'm doing with my cards, because it's one thing to just tell folks, hey, go and audit your cards and, keep the stuff that's great and sell the stuff that doesn't make that pile of, I need to have these cards. I've done it. I do it pretty constantly. I do it, once every couple of months. And I did it right after that episode myself, just like a lot of you did. And this Tim Duncan Gold and the Tim Duncan Ruby that I sold last week. Sorry, Tim. He just didn't make the cut in the cards that I want to keep. So somebody's gonna get it tonight. It'll probably, by the time we listen to this, it'll probably be already sold. And I'm interested to see where it goes. I don't really have too much else out there that I'm selling, from that list. We'll see. Maybe some Pokemon cards make the cut next time around, and we'll be selling some Pokemon cards. But I'll keep you posted on it because, it's selling, and it's most likely selling for, I don't know what to sell for. You never know with a card like that. It just takes two people, sort of like The Rock. But I'll keep you posted on what it sells for, and if it sells for a loss, so be it. I'm willing to take that money and buy cards with it that I do want. There's a card that I sold a couple years ago that I really want to get back. It's a 48 leaf Satchel Paige. I had a low grade one that was really nice eye appeal, and I sold it. And it's just one of those cards that I don't have in my collection. I feel like there's a hole in my collection, and that's one that I'd like to get back soon. So it's probably something that I will buy, maybe in better condition, better grade than I owned, using the money that I'm selling this Tim Duncan for. And it's not a card that I envision ever moving out of the pile of, this is my collection, as opposed to this. 2012 Prism Gold is awesome. I am a huge fan of that set. I think it's going to have some historical significance down the road as we shift out of the Panini era and we shift back into, Topps Chrome again, or whatever Fanatics is going to end up doing. I think that 2012 Prism set is going to be an iconic set, and the golds are iconic cards. But for right now, it's just not something that I am going to, hold on to. So good luck and congratulations to whoever actually wins it. Last thing, very quick, because I'm sure you've been beaten over the head on the PWCC Fanatics news. And the last time I recorded was about 3 hours before the news dropped. Instead, I came on here and talked about rumor, and how everybody was out there talking about rumors. I knew about the PWCC Fanatics thing for a while. I knew about the other people in the race. I knew about all kinds of stuff, but nothing was final until it was final. I have people, messaging me, I have people texting me. And, what's funny is if you were at the Dallas show that weekend, you were hearing a very different rumor than what actually made its way out, and what actually happened. So it's amazing how that stuff goes. And the folks who put out the rumor, I'm hearing that PWCC is about to be bought, but not saying who is going to buy it. It's an interesting thing, and I have no problem with with anybody posting stuff like that. My problem is not that, oh, it's my sources or I didn't have sources. I think it's silly to post rumors as news. That's kind of the gist that I was getting at. Most people understood that. I got a lot of great feedback, a lot of great, hey, it's not really valuable content if you. I'm just asking questions. I'm just asking questions. But it is what it is. That's some people's style. I mean, just like I'm not going to question people's method of collecting. I'm not going to question people's method of how they deliver their content. Everybody's entitled to do it themselves, just like I'm entitled to do my own with no sponsors presently as we speak, no partners. That may change, but as I record here, episode 16 of The Hobby with Cage, no sponsors. Just saying what I think. So on the Fanatics, I just made up a thing here because it's PWCC and Fanatics. Poanatics. I don't know. Now I'm getting stupid. Hopefully they do buy Panini and we can get that Frism that I've been asking for this entire time. On that deal, I view it as a real good thing, right? I think it was a necessary thing. I think PWCC was in a bad spot. Obviously, if they were in a good spot, they wouldn't have been laying employees off. I think they were in a bad spot, and I think Fanatics coming in and buying now a vaulting auction platform really strengthens their position in the space. I think it makes a lot of sense for them. It does not make them a monopoly per se, especially because think of what they added here. They added an auction house. I think Heritage does significantly more auctions by volume than PWCC does. I know Golden's out there as a significant competitor, and you have a bunch of other auction houses from REA to, I name 50 of them if you want. Pristine and Huggins and Scott and Clean Sweep and Memory Lane. And there's a million auction houses plus eBay for auctions. So they added an auction house that is not even like the number one auction house by volume, by size, not even close. So how does that make them a monopoly? Right? They added a vaulting space, but we could also name a bunch of other vaults. Collectors has a vault. Alt has a vault. eBay has their own vault. So this doesn't make them a monopoly at all, right? That line of argument I didn't really understand. I know what a monopoly is, and I know they're now, in a space where they have some form of, different parts of, the hobby itself, right? So they now are making the cards. They're supplying the cards, but so's Panini, right? And so they don't have a monopoly on the card production, right? They don't own all of the auction space. They don't own all of the live selling space. They haven't even released their live selling. There's plenty of other ones out there. As currently situated in the hobby, there's plenty of competition for Fanatics. I think this was a good thing. I like PWCC's tech. I like their platform. I've worked with them before, obviously, worth stating that. And I think, Fanatics purchasing them, acquiring them for whatever amount they acquired them for will allow PWCC to get out from under the bad situation they were in and continue to provide auction and vaulting services for folks who are out there. And just top line, real easy, for the thousands of messages that I got via text, via DM on both the Hobby with Cage and my personal account, asking me about cards in the vault. A lot of people messaged me after this and said, okay, I guess my cards are safe now. I guess my cards are okay now. And it's true. For those of you out there who are worried, if nothing else, Fanatics coming in and making this purchase would lead me to believe that your cards are fine in their vault. So if nothing else, you have that as my commentary on this, because, sometimes you want to hierarchy. Everyone's talking about monopoly and whether it's good or bad. Let's talk about boots on the ground. the thing that people were most concerned about in their messages to me was their cards in the vault. And I think nobody's concerned about that anymore. So that alone makes this deal a good thing in my eyes. Yeah, and that's it. Be careful. I'm hoping the Joker doesn't turn into Kawhi. I'm gonna see what Vadim Bagels wants because I feel bad hanging up on him. But I was recording and talking to you guys, and I'll see you again on Friday. We'll see. Maybe we'll do another coffee with Cage. We'll get some questions and answers done. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.